If you're trying to build a portfolio and you're chasing rate as your number one priority, just go directly to the bank.
I think the perception with rooming houses has come from share houses. So people do think that you're getting a lot of people in there that are, mooching off Centrelink.
Underinsurance is the biggest issue that we see. Building costs, labour costs, replacement rates gone through the roof.
You'll spin your wheels, you'll try and get the cheap money rather than getting the money that's actually going to get you, or getting the funding stack that's actually going to get you the deal. If you actually already have a property inside of a self-managed super fund and you have a loan on that property.
When you are doing the same deal type and you're dealing with the same client type over and over again, your ability to get the options and the strategies to the client in a refined, fast manner.
No longer is a property manager just a rent collector for you.
For heaven's sake, if it's with one of the major banks, please get in touch with me. I actually helped a client that was on 10.74% get their loans down to about the 7.1% mark. That's almost a 4% saving. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This Property That. Today, just want to run through a couple of things of questions that I'm getting from clients and go through some key talking points around those questions. So one of the big questions I'm seeing is, how do I use equity without wrecking my loan structure? So couple of key talking points that we're going to go through today. Well, I'm going to explain what equity actually is. I'm going to go through some, probably about three common mistakes people are seeing, people make, and how I approach, or how my team approaches the equity strategy and how we build portfolios. So let's get into it. So what is equity? Well, equity's not just the increase in value, it's the value minus the usable debt. So, one of my clients has bought a property for $365,000 about 7 years ago. We just did a valuation on the property. It's worth $1 million. He has a debt of approximately $330,000 on it. So his equity, his loan to value ratio is how much he's lent versus the value, is sitting at 33.3%. So he's got quite a bit of equity in there. Now he goes to me, well, I want to pull 100% of that equity out. Well, the banks won't just let you pull 100% out. If you pull over 80, if you go over a loan to value ratio of 80%, you'll start paying lenders mortgage insurance, and then the banks will question you more around their policies around around the cash out policy, which means that there's a lot of banks that'll lend you cash, they'll allow you cash out up to 80% or release equity up to 80% for any worthwhile purpose, i.e., I want to lend an extra, he's got $330, we can lend up to $800,000 as a total debt minus your $330, so probably about $470 in there as equity released to purchase an investment property or be ready to purchase an investment property. Easy as that. That's how what equity is and how it actually, the banks will look at it. Very, very reluctant to go over 80% when we're just doing a straight cash out. We don't need to, okay? But the three mistakes people are making that I'm seeing at the moment is, one, cross-collateralizing your securities. What that means is that you've already got one house with a loan against it, you've gone and bought another property, you're taking out a loan, but both these properties secure both the loans. It's a really ineffective strategy because it hamstrings you to one particular lender. Sometimes you don't even need to cross-collateralize your properties. If there's enough equity in property one to get 20% plus cost to purchase property two, and then property two can be done at 80%, we would leave them separate because you want them to grow separately and individually. And if you have to take one property to another bank, we can do that. You need your property portfolio to be flexible, fluid, and has little conditions as possible. The other thing I'm seeing is people are pulling out too much or too little. The too much piece, I have an asterisk over. I do believe if you've got the borrowing capacity to pull out, if you've got the borrowing capacity and the equity to pull out money now, do it now, because you'll never know whether you can lend money again. That's how some of the really smart investors are growing portfolios. They lend the money when they can, or they pull out too little. They say, Dion, we can borrow 600, but I only want to pull out 500. But then they've gone and purchased a property that we actually need the $600,000 worth of equity for. So then I got to restart that process. So that's what I'm seeing as well. And the third one is they have gone to other brokers or they've gone directly to their bank, but it's the wrong lender for the cash out policy. Like I said before, a lot of lenders will have different cash out policies, and usually it's the wrong lender because it's the easiest application for that person to do, or that lender to do, or that broker to do. They don't want to really look at anything else. What that means for you though is that it's another credit check, it's another application, and it's actually slowing you down. You're not actually ready to go purchase, and you can't actually purchase potentially that really quality asset that you could have purchased because you didn't have the finance in time. So keep that in mind too. So how do myself and my team approach the equity strategy or building out a portfolio? It's really, really simple. We don't submit applications unless we need to, or until we're at that stage. So we do a lot of research up front. That includes running upfront valuations across 2 to 3 different banks, because you'll find that each different lender has different valuations. They'll come in differently, and they also have different policies on cash out. So that's how I know before I even submit it. We're going to take this much cash out. We need to do this, and then run it based on their borrowing capacity. Then, we only use the equity that we need for that purchase. So if we've got a $500,000 equity release and that's our war chest, but we only need 250 of it, we're not using the 500. We're using the 250. The other 250 of that 500 sitting in offset, so you're only paying on 250, and then we use the remaining secured against the other the purchase property. So that way we're not sinking all our eggs into one basket. Then we can use that other 250 to go purchase on another deal. The third thing we do is also keep owner-occupied debt very separate from investment debt. I've seen a lot of clients that have got cash sitting in redraw. Yes, you've reduced your owner-occupied debt down to, let's say, it was $1 million loan, you've reduced it down to 300, but your commitment is still on the $1 million. So that's what the servicing's done on. Whereas if we just look at, and then obviously if you pull out some of that money, you then need to explain to your accountant how much of that was for investment, and your accountant's going to find it an absolute nightmare to do. So when you split the loans out, so you've got $300,000 balance on your owner-occupied, great. We have a $300,000 owner-occupied home loan. Your commitment has reduced, therefore your borrowing power has increased. Then we have that separate second loan for your equity release based on basically it's a debt recycling strategy. You pull that back out, and that's sitting there interest only against with an offset facility, and you're only paying for it when you use it. Now you're buy ready. That's when you start going and seeing your buyer's agents and start planning out the property purchases, etc. So I really hope you got something out of that. It's a short, sharp episode, just some things that I'm seeing from my clients. Love learning from other people's questions and mistakes that we've done in the past, and it's the best way to learn. The information on this podcast is very general in nature, doesn't take into consideration your personal circumstances. If you want to talk to me about your personal circumstances around finance, easy to find, at Dion Finance Specialist on Instagram, Dion Fernandez on LinkedIn, this website for this podcast, www.financethispropertythat.com.au. But until the next episode, I'll see you then.